All right, my friends, it's Kate here with the Mom Boss Mentor, and today I have a very special guest, Ani from VMID, and you are going to love her. So, Ani, do you want to tell us where you're from and what you used to do? Okay, so like before you became with a VMID.
Sure. So before I was working at Holt Renfrew as the visual team's assistant, so I would say I got a lot of my visual merchandising skills from there, both the Bloor Street flagship location and then the Yorkdale before and after the major renovation. So I got a lot of my hands-on experience working with very talented merchandisers and stylists. From there, I went to Adidas Group Canada and I became the national VM coordinator, taking care of the Adidas and Reebok stores for all of Canada. In terms of the campaigns and directives, but a major part of my role was also developing and training the visual merchandisers. So doing the training programs to help give them the skills they need to be visual merchandisers. So I got some training there. And then I also started teaching at Ryerson, again, visual merchandising for the fashion students. But what happened is when I was at Adidas, I started going through some personal issues, some health concerns related to pregnancy. And although I loved my job and it is absolutely an amazing company, I started learning the hard way that something was just really not jiving. So it took one more event that just kind of, I felt like cracked me, to be honest. And I thought I need to kind of reassess what's happening in my life and what I want. So that's when I took some time to recover, and it was 1 month exactly where I left a job that I loved. I went through like a recovery process of cleansing my space. I went to my parents' place and got rid of all my old stuff and had a garage sale. I turned our basement into a rental unit, staged it all with furniture and everything, got it up for rent. I had some therapy, some group meditation, and I read the book Careergasm, which is supposed to help you kind of figure out what you actually want in your career. So after doing a lot of reflecting and recovering, I realized I loved so many things about my job. At that point, I wasn't even sure if I still want to do visual merchandising, but after reflecting, I said, I love what I'm doing, but I'm kind of tired of doing it for the same kind of product type. So I thought, how can I feel more fulfilled? And I thought I'd feel more fulfilled if I actually do this for smaller businesses, because there's all these amazing things that these corporate companies do in terms of visual merchandising. Again, staff training, all these extra tools on things, but small businesses don't have access to that, don't know about that, definitely don't need it on an ongoing basis. So that's when I created VMID, so I can be like a service go-to for small businesses to help kind of elevate them and be more professional in their retail presentation.
Okay, so that's amazing. So I just want to go back a couple of things because I feel like so many can relate, even if they're not in virtual or visual merchandising, they can relate to your story. And so I first want to just say, like, there's a catalyst, and for you it was some health related, and during your pregnancy that there was a catalyst where you had to reevaluate. And so I just want to say, like, yay for you to take that time to pause and be like, what do I want to do? Like, it's okay to take a month off. And as scary as I'm sure that was, you figured out a way to monetize a space that you guys had in your house to turn it into an income stream so that you could then have the space financially, I'm assuming, to then start looking at alternatives. So do you want to maybe share a little bit about that portion of time and some of the lessons that you learned, or some of the things that you were like, I'm so glad I did that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely felt uncomfortable because it was the first time since, goodness, I don't even know. I don't know that I ever didn't work since I was 18 or young. Like, I started working before that, but I had some breaks in between. So I never really had a break in between. So it was the first time that I was like, what am I doing? I can't believe this. But that's why it made me super focused. Like, having that desperation of like, what am I about to do, made me more in tune with being more strategic about what I'm about to do. And then, of course, I needed income. So before I even figured out what I was going to do, I thought, I'm just going to freelance merchandise to make income while I figure it out. But because I realized I still want to do the visual merchandising anyways, while I had my first gig, let's say like a month after I quit, that then was the day after I registered VMID as a business. So that became my first client and actually ended up being an amazing client. So it sort of worked out that way, that the way I had decided to monetize this time ended up fitting in well with my business. And I went about it that way because I thought, this is what I've been doing, this is what I'm best at, and I do enjoy it. So I was very happy that that aligned. Another thing that pushed me, this may be a strange story, but um, there was a lady in my neighborhood who is elderly. And while I was kind of packaging things into my car, she was outside. Hey, how's it going? We had a chat and we ended up having kind of a lengthy chat. It was like half an hour. And then I remember thinking, it's the middle of the day. I'm young. I'm full of energy and passion and skills. I don't have any kids. I have absolutely no reason to be having this chunk of time right now, to be having small talk with the elderly lady in my neighborhood as if I have the same life as her. And that didn't feel comfortable with me. I've always been a busybody, and that's the example I've seen growing up. And that's what feels good to me. Like when I have quiet time, I don't actually feel good. I know some people do, I don't. So I remember thinking like, I really need to figure out what I'm doing. And it made me even more productive into figuring out what I want to do with my business, and still knowing that a part of my issues and stressors were revolving on pregnancy. I thought, the life I have right now is not allowing what I want it to allow. So I also have to factor in, I want motherhood. What can I do to factor in motherhood? So that's another reason why I decided I want my own business, so that I can play around with my time as I need, which anybody who has their business might be laughing because there's only so much you can control. It's not like I decide today I want 10 clients, tomorrow I want 5. No, they come and they go, and it doesn't always balance out, but at least I can shift things around as I need.
Yeah. And I think, you touched on two different points. I mean, there's different perspectives that people find enjoyment. So some
Yeah.
love and thrive on quiet and calm, and others, like you and I think we're like, the busier we are, the more productive we are. And so it's a balancing act. Especially then as you integrate motherhood, and now it's not just your schedule, but these other humans that we need to fit into. So let's talk about your business now today, in how you balance that with motherhood, and some of the things that you've been able to do to still continue to grow your business without having to be like working 16 hours a day.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to say I find my kids kind of helped grow my business. And that's because when I was pregnant with my first, I learned the hard way that I can't be as physical as I would like due to those health concerns. So instead of me doing all the physical work, I started outsourcing things to other freelance merchandisers. And then because all of a sudden I had more freelancers I was tied to, I was able to take on more projects and larger projects because all of a sudden I had a team. And I don't know that I would have made that step if I hadn't had to because of me getting pregnant. And then of course she came, I got even busier. So I'd started outsourcing a little bit more and a little bit more. And then I learned just how busy you are when you have a kid in your own business. So when I was pregnant with my second, the same thing happened, but I knew that I wanted just 1 more month in mat leave, because with my previous one, I took 2 months off, and I felt like I wanted more full time with her. So I said, with my next one, I'll have 3 months, and then I'll transition me coming back instead of going all at once. So that meant I had to outsource even more. So then I outsourced every service part of what I do, because I found maybe you can't find the one person who's doing everything you do. So I said, okay, this person is great at consulting. This person's great at design renderings. This person's good at sourcing. All of these guys are great at merchandising. And then I need like a project management person. So then I found people to cover all of these things, so that even if it was just 3 months that I took, there was no hiccup. I didn't have to close down my business, because I was also worried about it's not just one project that you lose. Like that could be a client that's going to keep coming back to you. So that could be a huge hit to your business. It's a lot of work getting those clients. So I spent a lot of time kind of training everybody and talking to everybody about how I go things. I had templates, I had processes in place to put that to use, still knowing that what if I don't get any projects during those months, and this is all a waste of time, but I just wanted that reassurance. So then that mat leave went by really fast, but still, now that I did that, when my load is too full, I know I can count on those guys because I made them do it while I was away, so I can take on more projects. So I find because of my kids, I ended up being pushed to grow a team while probably wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for them. And
Mhm.
now I've gotten better at kind of understanding what time means, especially in speaking with experts like you about time and sort of blocking off things that you know you can't do during this time, finding those little pockets of things that you can do. I have a weekly planner that I like to use. My older one is now in preschool. That made a huge difference. My
Mhm.
younger one is with me, but I find I've kind of trained her a little bit better about occupying herself while I work. And of course, I have to kind of keep throwing toys at her and handling her at the same time. And maybe I'm even nursing with her with one arm and emailing with the other one. But on one hand, I know I've decided to take on that chaos, so it's less of a shock. And
Mhm.
also, I find she's a little bit more used to that being our life rather than starting to train a kid. I think it's like a second kid thing because she's not the only one that we're all focusing on as well.
I agree with
Um,
you on the second kid. I have to interject there
yeah.
because I think we definitely noticed the difference with my second versus my first, because my first I didn't have a business, and the second I was like growing a business. And so I think it was like a weekend and I was like at an event with her and nurse and do my thing, and then I would, change her after my presentation, and
Yeah.
had somebody on site to help. And so I think um a lot of parents and moms especially that are business owners, some of them really struggle with that guilt of working while the kids are at home. I was just chatting with someone today who's like, I just don't want to be that mom with her phone on while the kids are around. And I challenged that thought. And so I'm going on a tangent, so bear with me, but because you spoke to it, I think it's an important conversation that business women in particular need to hear and normalize that it's okay to work, and it's
Yeah.
okay to show our kids that we work and that we're successful business owners and that entrepreneurship is real, because without it being 16-hour days, right? Like to have the ability to say, okay, 5 minutes, I'm going to deal with this email and then we'll play. Or,
Yeah.
mom has a meeting today at 2, and, babies are harder to negotiate with. But,
Yeah.
as they get to 3, 4, it's easier to say, like, I'm working. My husband used to say, I'm going to work so I can buy you candy. I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to work to pay for hydro, gas, groceries, our phone, our TV, like all the things, because kids especially, need to know that we work for what we have, and that takes effort, and it's okay to work, and it's okay to put in that time. So I don't want to go too much into the tangent, but you commented on it, and I think that's something that I'm hearing from you, that confidence of saying, right now your kids are both home, one's sick and the other one's young, but your mom came in to help, and it's okay to ask for help or to get support so that you can continue to grow your business, because you're building a legacy for your kids for generations to come. So do you have any comments on that or thoughts around
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I definitely felt guiltier with my first one. Like, oh, she sees me busy all the time. But I sort of integrate them. Like, even with my meetings, sometimes I have to grab them and be like, she just wants to say hi. And I find that's kind of a silver lining of COVID, that it's become a lot more normal to be like, and my kid's coming into the picture now. So that is, a lot of my clients are mothers too, so they understand. So I have less of the guilt because I'm also showing them an example of like, this is life. Mommy works and I work because not only do I have to, I enjoy it. I love it. This is a part of what I do. And I also remind myself that I had a working mom and she wasn't working in the home like I am, at least. Like I'm kind of around the kids. She would work outside. And I don't remember her absence at all. When I look back into my childhood, even though she was working outside, I only remember her being there. And when I think about it, I think it's because the time we had together was such quality But I was also lucky that it was my grandma taking care when she was out. But I really didn't feel like I didn't have mom. And now, yes, I am more home with my kids and kind of simultaneously doing both. But I do request either grandma to help out once a week in between the preschool hours for me to even work from their homes so they can occupy the baby so I can be even more productive during those hours. Of course, the more I increase the help, the more I can work. But at the same time, I kind of see it as, but I chose to work from home. So I kind of chose to be around a little bit more in these years as well. So I constantly struggle with, but I want to work more, but I'm not here for them. Like I can't say I never stopped feeling guilty, but it's definitely more normalized with the second one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it ever is like there's no cookie cutter or structure to say this is how you grow your business while being a mom with kids at home. Like there is no perfect, structure or system. It's really figuring out and playing, and you might finally figure it out. And then guess what? The kids are like going through a different development stage, and it's
For
like a whole other ball,
sure.
right?
Yes,
And
whenever I
so,
notice a pattern, it changes. So I think
right.
I'm gonna stop looking up for a pattern because it just jinxes the whole thing.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but like you said, like entertaining and integrating them into it and making it normal, I think adds more fun and less pressure and less stress, because if you're stressed, then the kids are stressed, and everybody just feels that. So might as well embrace the chaos, like you said at the beginning, embrace the chaos, and find things that fit, and systems that work for the time being, and constantly evolve. So we don't want to keep it too long. So tell people what they could get from you and why they want to follow you, and where they can like get more information about what you do and what services you offer.
So VMID is visual merchandising services for retailers of any size. So I do cater it to small businesses, meaning if you have an independent shop, I can help you with the space planning, fixture layouts, sourcing things, the design of the space, consulting as well, staff training for visual merchandising, hands-on labor execution, the installation. We can do all those things, but that also means knowing you're a small business. Maybe you don't need everything. Maybe you don't want to pay for everything. So it can be at something as small as a consultation for a table space. So sometimes one of my specialties are trade shows. So sometimes people come to me saying, I have a market space, I have a table, I don't know how to go about it, I want to look professional. That can even just be a consultation. But then we also taken on much larger projects. So it's very flexible. I have recommended packages and how to elevate your space and make it work best for you so that you are optimizing the selling opportunity as well as looking professional. But it is very kind of customizable depending on what you need. I'm a partner of the One of a Kind show as an example. Just last night, I hosted a virtual booth design workshop. I've done a few different webinars for them. I'm a booth design judge for them every year, judging the best booth design. Lots of one-on-one consultations there as well. And design, I do a lot of the designs at the booths as well. So a lot of different ways to go about it. So small businesses or mid-range businesses can also follow me on Instagram at VM_ID. Same tag for Pinterest for inspiration. They can sign up for my mailing list, where right now I have a freebie, which is a VM planning workbook to help kind of guide you, consider, and be strategic about what product story should be in all of the key zones and how to kind of plan it out. So instead of just going and winging it and getting tired executing it physically, you're doing the pre-planning, so you're more strategic about it. And you can also add me on LinkedIn under my name, Ani Nersessian, but I can definitely send a link to my website and the mailing
we'll have it in the
list.
bio here of the episode, so people can just click the link in the comments. And definitely, I hear you about that, like winging it. I don't know how many trade shows we did that we just winged it, and it was like so much stuff, right? And your
Yeah.
customers don't know what to look for, and so then your
Right.
rate of return on your time, and trade shows are not cheap. Like, to be in some of the
No.
trade shows, they're very expensive. So to take that money and invest to make sure that your booth is going to attract people to you and get the results of what you're looking for, which is either, new contacts, new sales, new leads, or whatnot. I think, like you're saying, like, being very pre-planned and strategic with your space and your design is something that I think most small businesses underestimate the power of, and could definitely benefit from consulting with you. So thank you so much, Annie, for your time. We'll make sure that we have that, and we'll be sharing for you. But anybody that is listening to the show, make sure you subscribe to Mom Boss Mentor, because we're highlighting a different mom that is having success and sharing what they're up to, and their journey that they've been on to be able to build the life of their dreams and the business of their dreams, fulfilling their passion. So thank you so much, Annie, for your time. And we're going to be cheering you on, and we cannot wait to connect with you further. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.